Good morning, everybody. Well, hello, good afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this. Back online with the videos. And so today we are talking about recruitment and retention and how important they are right now. So unfortunately, I find we are in a bit of a state of flux with what everybody had called the Great Resignation. And whilst a lot of people are shifting, majority of people are staying put. So we're going to go through a number of things today, how we can recruit our staff, and in future workshops, we're going to go through some retention strategies. So today is purely about understanding the challenges that we're up against, understanding that the barriers to recruitment and how we can improve our recruitment process. So welcome aboard. Please leave some feedback in the comments below so that I know that you're here and I know that you've watched it, and feedback is always welcome. So Mr. Mark Benioff, founder of Chairman and co-CEO of Salesforce, is quoted as saying, "Acquiring the right talent is the most important key to growth. Hiring was and still is the most important thing we do." And it's true. Getting the right people on board is paramount to success, and it really underpins everything we do as a business. I humbly believe that you don't grow your business, your people grow your business for you. So setting the tone with employing the right people for the right roles is key. You probably hear that all the time, especially if you're talking to HR people like me. Right people, right roles. So how do we go about doing that? So recruitment becomes easier when you can retain staff well, and retention, a good recruitment process forms a part of your retention strategy. So the two are intrinsically linked. The two go well together because we're able to, if you've got a good employee value proposition, your recruitment becomes easier because people know about that. And if they don't, it'll be very evident in the interview process that you're looking out for who to hire, what you can bring to them as individuals, as well, not only what they can bring to you in the role in business. So retention will increase when you go through that process, when you onboard someone and you have them on board and they start to see the value proposition that you're holding to your people too. So without further ado, let's move through how we attract, retain, develop, and review our people, starting in this session with attraction or the recruitment process. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our current times, and I've put together a number of surveys that and reports that have been out over the last year or so, given the current challenges that we've had with the pandemic and how stuff moved. Now, we talked about the Great Resignation in a previous video, and that seems very American. And I couldn't tell you how that's happening at the moment, but I believe that we're going to see it throughout this year, towards the end of the year. Now that things are back to our new normal. And I think it's important to note just a couple of things as we're going through this, things that our changed world, the impact that it's having on our people and how we recruit. So current hiring trends compared to 5 years ago, and this is within the last year, 50% longer hiring cycles. What that means is that it's taking 50% longer to recruit people. This is where our retention strategies come in down the track when we start to unpack those this month. It's taking so much longer to recruit. Now, I'm not a recruitment specialist, but I do it as a part of my role in many businesses, and I am absolutely struggling. In particular, I'm going to say in finance, in IT, in specialist compliance spaces, or specialist areas, even just general high-level admin, we're finding it really hard to recruit the quality and the standard of people that we're expecting, because one, they're not moving. Two, if they are moving, it's because they've been tapped on the shoulder by a company that is offering them more pay, more stability, better employee value proposition all over. So better work-life balance, better life-work balance. So, you know, there's a number of things that are happening as to why the hiring cycle is taking so long. And this is one of the things that we need to, when we are hiring, we need to try and cut down as quick as possible, because I've had people lose out on acquiring talent because they didn't have their contracts ready on the day. They didn't have the right salary to meet that, and they just weren't professional in the way that they went about the recruitment process. So companies that are wanting the right staff are going to talented recruitment agents to tap people on the shoulder and say, I've got a contract ready for you to go today. What's your, you know, paying up to about $40,000 more than what they were currently earning. So it's really pertinent to start reviewing your market salaries and where they stand in the market, because it is really starting to make an impact to people. So that goes around that. Now, there's also a 49% increase in hiring costs. So what does that mean? That means that because it's taking so long, it's taking longer to hire. We are actually seeing recruitment fees rise across the board. It's also because it's taking longer, that cost is attributed to hiring as well. So, you know, it takes however many people within an organization to interview. It's taking longer to interview. So, you know, you might be finding that you're doing more interviews throughout the process because you're losing candidates along the way, or you just haven't got that interview process down pat. So you maybe not be having that selection criteria maybe as tight as you could. Hiring trends, there's 38% lower productivity and 38% lower workforce engagement. People aren't as engaged in work as they used to be, and I can tell you why. Because they've had this lovely balance, and it's been challenging to get, you know, motivated to get into things. So, you know, that's been a challenge in hiring. People aren't motivated to look. They're not motivated to engage in something else. And this contravenes exactly what we were talking about, contradicts exactly what we were talking about previously, in that there's supposedly a great resignation going on. So that's something that I wanted to just put out there when we're hiring, that these are the trends that we're seeing, and something just to take note of. Something else that's coming into play, and probably for the first time it's becoming really evident than it has in a very, very long time, is the multi-generational workforce. So what this means is that we've got 4 generations of beautiful humans working together. We've got our baby boomers, we've got our Gen Xers, we've got our millennials and our Gen Zs, all working together. But each group has their own perspective and their own view on the world, and they have a different expectation of their employers for their careers. So how does this play out? This plays out when we're looking to engage staff or employ staff. We need to understand these things and how it's going to have an impact on the team, and how that impact is going to go down in future for management. How that's going to work for management. So, for example, these 4 generations all have different communication styles. They'll all have a balancing need and different balancing needs of new ideas against the need to maintain the status quo. So you may find the baby boomers are a bit more set in, and I'm generalizing here and I don't like doing that. This is just an example, but you know, you may find that they're sort of set in their way, and that's the way, let's just maintain the status quo. You may find, you know, you've got some real entrepreneurial minds out there that are like, oh, new ideas, let's get some new ideas in there. And this can cause a conflict if you're working within the same team. So understanding who you're employing and setting up a strategy for that, so that you can potentially have that variety of ideas and perspectives, is really important. But it is something to consider, because when you're a manager, that manager is going to need to have to work with that. and understand how to work with that. And it's just another challenge that we're facing right now. The multi-generational workforce has a diverse preferred management style. So, you know, you could say that about anyone really. You know, everyone has a different preference to leadership styles. However, it's become more evident across the multi-generational workforce, just the different types of styles that we need to be considering. Managing expectations for speedy promotions. This is something that management will need to consider when hiring. And just, you know, as I've given a great example, negative generational stereotypes does come a play in the team environment that we're working towards. So being mindful of this, and I'm not saying dismiss any of it, I think it's great that you can have such a breadth of experience in almost any role now. It's not just, you know, the later generations being able to, or the older generations being able to come in and give us all this advice and structure, but there are people wanting to work at different levels in the organisation, and I think that's fantastic. But it does need to be considered when we're thinking about our team and our company and who we're engaging to represent us. So attracting talent, we need to think about a goal that the business has, whether it's a HR strategy to be growing your people through the organisation, because if that's one of your goals, to have people stay as long as possible, then that means that you may look at what your reward offering is, what your remuneration is, and then all your development options and your retention strategies really come into play here. If you're running a lean and mean business, and that's where it is, it's just a lean business and I can't afford to do any more, there's nothing else I need to do here in this space, you have to expect some churn, and also then you have to strategize about how that's going to work as well. So it's all about, part of the attracting talent strategy is what are the individual team strategies that align with the business strategy. So each team will have it, whether it be functional, whether it be, you know, multi product based, whether it be, you know, regional. What's the strategy for each team? And is everybody clear on their goals and their deliverables? That plays a big part in attracting talent, because you want to know how you can fit these people in those roles. Who are you employing in what roles? So what is your ideal person in this role? And no matter how many times you try and articulate your ideal person for this role, someone comes along and surprises you, and it's just like, oh, I didn't know that you existed. And so that we'll talk about that in a moment, but, you know, having that vision of, well, actually you're not who my ideal person, however I see potential. Are we employing people so that we can grow them and look at what they then offer the business and how we can then support them in their growth trajectory? So we also then look at personality versus skill versus experience level. So, you know, how much are we factoring into personality when we're recruiting? How much do we factor into skill when we're recruiting? And how much do we factor in for experience? Now, bear in mind, guys, I'm not a recruitment specialist by any means. I have worked in the operational space in finance, IT, HR, basically in your national operations management type roles, focusing on HR. So from a business perspective, this is where I'm coming from. This is what needs to happen, I believe, to make a good business successful in attracting the talent that they need. And these are the things that we factor in, and it's how I've operated in the past and communicated to my recruitment team, having that amazing bond with someone in recruitment that allows you to bounce ideas off each other, but then giving them, this is exactly what I'd like, and they understand exactly what you mean to go out and help you with this if you don't have someone in-house to do it. So when we look at talent acquisition, it's important because finding and hiring the right people is a crucial element of an organisation's business plan. It directly affects the company's future success. Because without the right employees, a business is likely to struggle with poor productivity, bad decision-making, and unmotivated staff. So one of the things that I look out for, this is what we were talking about before, is looking for transferable skills. So rather than having someone that has 10 years experience in this area, for example, I'm looking for a HR manager and I want someone who has 10 years experience in HR management because I need someone with that level. I guess one of the things we could look at is looking at what transferable skills does this person have that could be utilised in this role instead. So clarifying the goal and the outcome of the role. Is an admin officer's job to just complete accurate work, or do they have a relationship with anyone outside of the business, within the business? Where's the priority there? You know, for a HR manager, are they just doing the day-to-day? Are we looking for someone with tick the box compliance skills, or are we looking for someone who has the ability to coach and guide people in the right way to grow the business and support development plans and to support their careers? So you can clearly see that, you know, experience versus skills can be quite different. And you can have experience, but understanding what type of experience people have when we're recruiting versus what skills that they do have that we could transfer. So we need to look at, if we want to be successful in looking at transferable skills, we need to screen for learning capacity. So as I mentioned before, instead of looking for years of experience, look for whether or not they've mentored others, whether or not their results-driven thinking shows that they're able to learn skills. Look where they've moved outside of their role and done something particularly great for them, you know, for the business that they've been in. Consider their achievements rather than just their experience and their qualifications. I mean, they may need qualifications for a particular role, but don't just settle because they've got the qualifications, it's going to be great. Look for learning capacity. Mentor others, consider their achievements, results-driven thinking, learning skills. Screen for problem solving. So tailor your questions just to try and promote problems that they've solved in the past, or challenge them with a work problem of your own and ask them how they would solve it. I have found this particularly useful when you've got a particular problem in mind and you say, okay, well, I know this goes on within the business, and just put it out there and say, well, how would you fix this? How would you resolve this? Let me know what you would do. What's your process? That has been the difference in many a senior role that I've engaged on how they would, on who would suit better. I wanted the person who's going to think outside the box, because this particular role needed someone that was going to be adaptable and flexible, and I wanted those learning skills, someone that was able to actually learn. So another thing that you might look out for when you're looking for transferable skills is, have they advanced their career in creative ways rather than climbing the traditional corporate ladder? So another thing that when we're looking at attracting talent, we're looking at our priorities within the role. So you look at a position description and you see, you know, a number of things are going on in your position description. So businesses need to start prioritizing the desired attributes. Too many demands on the role and no clear priority causes someone to feel like they're not going to tick the boxes, so they may not apply. For example, how many items do you have in the skills section? How many items do you have in the experience section? How many items do you have? Does it look like a list that's quite large? You've got 15 items in there looking at your industry experience and your employment history. So a couple of things to consider. We've talked about looking for transferable skills. So if that's a priority for your business, and I think these days it needs to be more of a priority, but if you're looking for that, narrow down on the priorities within the role when you're advertising for the role. So, for example, are you looking for more industry experience? I'm working in environmental services, therefore I'm looking for someone with similar experience. Or am I looking for someone with functional role expertise? Which one is the priority there? Because you'll word that very differently in an ad. Look at your employment history versus the emerging skills savviness of the person. How am I going to identify that? Which one's the priority? I want to see what they've done before versus I want to see how I think they'll perform here based on their skills that I'm able to see and their learning ability. What's more important in this particular role? Technical hard skills or soft human competency? So you can really see that it's really important to highlight the priorities for that role when you're trying to attract talent. Because when you clearly display the priorities of the attributes you're wanting, you open the door to more opportunities to engage workers with transferable skills and emerging talent without clearly defining the priorities. Every attribute seems like a requirement for the role. So imagine walking in as an accountant and I need to have worked in the environmental sector. So I need to have experience in the industry. So I need to have worked in the environmental sector previously, but I need to show how I've worked in a leadership accounting role. My history must display that I've got that industry experience, and I need to have emerging skill savviness because I need to adapt and change as the changing environmental sector does. I need to have those technical skills of an accountant. I need to be able to do the monthly reports. I need to be able to do that, but I've also got a team and I need to have some human competency in managing that. Now, when you look at that and spread that out without clearly prioritizing that, every attribute for that role that I need seems like a requirement of the role. That's like having that list of what you want in a partner being 30 things and then dismissing every potential partner because you're like, well, they don't tick that box. You know, they're not going to buy me flowers every week. So it's really important to pull out and prioritize the ones that are really important and cut down that list. Keep it in the back of your mind that that's still forming a part of the role, but you need to understand what's more important. The other thing when we're attracting talent, this is becoming more and more important with the current situation we're in. We're in a current little bit of a skill shortage, it seems, at the moment, or insecurity. I don't pertain to understand the current environment we're in, but you know, there is something going on where people are not wanting to move right at this present, and it's very difficult engaging staff when we're attracting talent. So employees overwhelmingly expect flexible options. Given what we've been through, there's no news to that. However, understanding that being flexible in what works with your business is important for what people are looking for in a role. Employees want to reimagine how productivity is measured. This is really important. I believe that in the future, companies will need to rethink how they measure productivity because traditional metrics won't work. The views that real work can't get done outside the office, that's not going to cut it. Forget that. We've learned through that. But 86% of employees said that they would prefer to work for a company that prioritizes the outcome over the output. What does that mean? Outcome, output. New employees want to work for a company that cares less about the qualified output they're able to produce, that's in number metrics, and more about the impact they can deliver to the business in a holistic sense. They want to be a part of the team. You know, if you're a part of the accounting team, what does the accounting team deliver within the business? How does it support the business? If I'm an accounts payable clerk, yeah, I've ticked off my monthly to-do lists, and yeah, I'm doing them on time and fantastic, you know, that's great. That's my output, but what's the impact and the outcome that I'm having because of that? So they're things to think about in a holistic sense. This is what the businesses are going to need to to help people feel more a part of that business. And that's clearly what more and more individuals are looking for when they apply for roles in your organisation. They want to understand what you're about. They want to feel a part of it. They want to understand what their little role in your big business is. So employees want to work with a diverse team that have a purpose. So get on top of your mission, vision, and values. You know, people want to work for a purpose and for an organisation that has direction and clarity. Now, I've worked in many businesses and it's never 100%. It's never 100% when you've got vision, mission, values, and you're not quite living them. There are, you know, a few growth problems going on over here. People are leaving because things are changing, and you know, you're really trying to build that team, but you know, you've got to understand what's going on, and you don't necessarily want to portray all of that to someone. So someone comes into an interview and here's my mission, vision, values, here's what we live and breathe, and this is what, you know, we're doing as an organisation, here's your part in that. What tends to happen is not long into the role, you've got your 6-month probation period now, not long into the role, they jerry on. This is not the business that I was sold. This is not the business that I was told that I was going to be the perfect fit for. And no matter how much money you throw at these people, if they've come here because they believe in what you're doing and they want to be a part of that, and you're not delivering that, it's never going to end well. So in the interview, tip number 1 for me, be honest. Be honest about where you're at. I'm always honest about where we're at. You know what? We're growing. We aim to be here. Our mission and vision is here and our values are here, but realistically, this is what the culture is like. You know, you don't have to go down all the dirty, dark secrets that's going on within the business and all, you know, but, you know, paint a clear picture if that's what's going on for them. Be professional in the interview. Don't rock up and slouch, you know, have your notes ready to go. Be prepared. Have your questions, have reviewed that person's resume, have questions that are personal and tailored to them. Really important. Be timely, don't be late. And when you're following the process, make sure that you're not letting people drag out for 3 weeks. Remember I said earlier that the hiring process is taking 50% longer. It is, however, it can be shortened. I would recommend getting on top of things as quickly as possible. Be prepared to make that offer as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will have people drop out of the race. And from experience, the longer it takes, the more conversations you're having, it does really make people question whether they want to be involved in this because, oh, it's taking ages. I understand that you have to get the right people for that role, and that is a process, but set out your timelines very early on. Clearly explain what those timelines are. If you can't stick to a 1-week turnaround process, if you know it's going to take 3 weeks, up front, this is going to take 3 weeks. Are you considering other roles so that I might contact you, you know, or you might contact me if something else came up and you needed to push something forward. I don't know, but set expectations and get feedback from the role, from the interview process. So that is attracting talent. It's massive. It really is. There's a lot to consider when we're trying to attract talent. I think it's important to try and, you know, just sit down and plan for your team, plan for the role, plan for how you want to bring this person into the role, understand what's going on in the marketplace of the role as well as of your business. Prioritize your key attributes. Pick a few that are going to make someone stand out, that's going to be perfect for that role, and then look for the rest. But advertise just a few, because if you've got a lot in there, you're not going to have people apply. So these are just a few tips on recruitment that I hope have been helpful. We're going to go through retention, and we'll start with onboarding. Onboarding is a big one. So onboarding will be our next video, and I hope to see everybody there. please offer feedback, comments, anything else you've noticed. You know, it's only been a short video, so I appreciate that there's a lot to cover, but that's what I'm here for. I'm just giving you out short snippets of information, and if you want more, reach out. That's what I'm here for. I know plenty of people in the recruitment industry who have way more experience than me at this. This is just me looking at a topic from a business perspective on how to attract talent for your business. I'd love to, actually, I might reach out and have an interview with one of my beautiful recruitment professionals out there, and get their topic on it at some point too. So I look forward to seeing you all in the recruitment and retention workshops this month. I'm hosting a lot more videos, so I hope to see you all on board soon, and enjoy your fabulous week.